Hallo und willkommen. Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining me, Silke Learn German, for another video. In today's lesson, we're going to learn about the modal verbs. Okay, so the aims of the lesson are for me to tell you about the modal verbs, what they are, take you through the different ones, their conjugations, important notices about the sentence structure, and I'll teach you how to actually integrate them in a sentence, and then you've got some exercises. The final part is going to be pointing you to a section on my website where you've got further activities. So what are modal verbs and why should you learn them? So modal verbs are helping verbs, I suppose, essentially, that are used in a sentence and they will change the meaning of a sentence. They're usually used with another verb and they specify, for example, what you have to do, what you should do, what you can do, etc. In German they're used very frequently, and so it's important to be aware of them and to learn them. They're also irregular, and so it's very important that you learn the conjugations. Using a modal verb in a sentence will change the sentence structure, and so it's important for you to know how to do that and how the sentence structure has to change. So here we've got the modal verbs. So we've got können, müssen, dürfen, sollen, wollen, and mögen. So the first one we'll start with is können, to be able to or can. So the conjugations are ich kann, du kannst, sie, es, man kann, wir können, ihr könnt und sie können. Okay, so it's ich kann, du kannst, sie, es, man kann, wir können, ihr könnt, sie oder sie können. The second modal verb that we'll learn is müssen, must or to have to. The conjugations are ich muss, du musst, sie, es, man muss, wir müssen, ihr müsst, sie oder sie müssen. So it's ich muss, du musst, sie, es, man muss, wir müssen, ihr müsst, sie müssen. The third one is dürfen, to be allowed to. The conjugations are ich darf, du darfst, sie, es, man darf, wir dürfen, ihr dürft, sie dürfen. I'll go through these once more. It's ich darf, du darfst, sie, es, man darf, wir dürfen, ihr dürft, sie dürfen. Sollen is the next modal verb. Sollen means to be supposed to. The conjugations are ich soll, du sollst, sie, es, man soll, wir sollen, ihr sollt, sie sollen. I'll go through these once more. Ich soll, du sollst, sie, es, man soll, wir sollen, ihr sollt, sie sollen. We'll now move on to wollen, to want to. The conjugations are ich will, du willst, sie, es, man will, wir wollen, ihr wollt, sie wollen. I'll go through these once more. Ich will, du willst, sie, es, man will, wir wollen, ihr wollt, sie wollen. The next one we'll come to is mögen, to like. So the conjugations are ich mag, du magst, sie, es, man mag, wir mögen, ihr mögt, sie mögen. I'll run through these once more. Ich mag, du magst, er, sie, es, man mag, wir mögen, ihr mögt, sie mögen. It's important here to point out that mögen nowadays very often is used as a full verb rather than a modal verb. So for example, the sentence Ich mag Kaffee, I like coffee, is used rather than Ich mag Kaffee trinken. Now here we've got mögen in the subjunctive, in the conjunctive, and it's used very often nowadays, although it's not a modal verb in itself. It's conjugated very differently. It's used to express that you would like to do something. The conjugations are as follows. Ich möchte, du möchtest, er, sie, es, man möchte, wir möchten, ihr möchtet, sie möchten. I'll go through these once more. Ich möchte, du möchtest, er, sie, es, man möchte, wir möchten, ihr möchtet, sie möchten. So an example sentence would be Ich möchte Kaffee trinken. I would like to drink coffee. Now obviously, yes, you've got to learn the conjugations of the modal verbs, but very important, how do they fit into a sentence? So what happens as soon as you're using a modal verb, the modal verb is conjugated and the modal verb goes in second position. The main verb stays in the infinitive and it goes to the very end of the sentence. We've got an example here. Ich muss mein Auto waschen. So now we've got just 5 example sentences just for you to practice. So you'll probably want to pause the video at this point. You've always got a gap in the sentences. At the end, you have the modal verb that I'd like you to use. So if you pause the video now and try to fill the gaps, I'll then go through the answers. Okay, so how did you get on? Here we've got the answers. So we've got Ich will ins Kino gehen. Er mag Kaffee. Wir müssen das Auto waschen. Könnt ihr das Zimmer aufräumen? Hans und Tanja müssen eine neue Kaffeemaschine kaufen. Okay, so hopefully you found this useful. We're showing you here how to access my website where you've got further exercises and you can practice those a bit more. But I hope you found this video useful. You may want to go through it once more because obviously you've got a lot of conjugations, a lot of the modal verbs. But I'd like to say thank you very much for today, for joining me. Please remember to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Aber für heute, vielen Dank und auf Wiedersehen. Tschüss.